You are a priest forever, of the order of Melchizedek, is what God has promised each and every one of us. When we are baptized, we are called to be priests, but there are those who come with a special anointing, an anointing that helps them to administer, to reach out to people as a shepherd. And today we have with us Bishop Dr. George PALLIPPARAMBIL from the Diocese of MIAO, Arunachal Pradesh, who has spent over 50 years learning and working with people. We're very happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord. We always start with the first question about where your vocation started, Your Grace.
I would say it started in the family, in my family. I was born in a very traditional Catholic family, and so we had everything Catholic about our daily life and upbringing. Early education in the school itself. We had the church and the convent next to our house, and so we were very much associated with the church and church life.
Okay.
And the sisters used to be coming to our house, and we used to be going to the convent. The priests used to be coming, because they were our nearest neighbors.
Many brothers and sisters also, Father?
No, we were, I have one sister and 3 brothers.
Okay.
And then the Catholic school and the whole environment was of a Catholic upbringing.
Okay.
And talking about vocations and mission life was nothing strange. It was a part of the flow of life in our entire village, I would say. So from there, as we went on in the school, more and more priests would come and speak about the missions, call us to join the missions. And so as I was in going ahead into the school, I decided to go to the missions. Of course, when I was in class 7, I decided to join a mission in Andhra Pradesh, but then that time my parents prevented me from going, saying it's too far.
Okay.
And maybe it was fortunate that I didn't go at that time, because when I was in class 10, I came to know about the missions in the Northeast and the Salesian congregation.
Yeah.
And so after class 10, I went to the Northeast.
Was there something that appealed to you about the Salesian congregation?
Yes, more than, of course, I read the life of Don Bosco that was given to me by one of the fathers.
Yeah.
But the life of the missions in the Northeast, the challenges that they presented, that's what appealed to me most, because the church in Kerala was already by then quite a comfortable church, and while Northeast seems to be rather
like growing and
attractive.
It's a very difficult growth also at some times.
So I decided to go there, and then 1970, July 1st, 15 of us from Kerala reached there in the batch, yes.
That was very beautiful, isn't it? 15 together.
Yeah, 15 together.
That is nice. Bishop, what about those challenges that you mentioned? What are those specific challenges that you feel is different?
Living in the Northeast, the first challenge would be the number of dialects. Every 3 or 4 kilometers we have a dialect, and if you really need to communicate with the people, you need to know them, and it is not possible for anyone to learn
most of it.
All of them. At least we are all trying to learn 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But then learning 1 or 2 also has a little disadvantage, that others might feel little strange towards you.
Yeah.
But then common languages like English, or where I am working now in Arunachal Pradesh, Assamese and Hindi, these work as the lingua franca, and we are able to,
language,
we can communicate here. And the people, they love to learn English and to speak it also. So it becomes very advantageous.
How did your family receive that decision of yours, Bishop? How did they?
By the time I was already class 10, as I said, in class 7, they were not. In fact, the brother had come to take me, but then they didn't let me go.
Yeah.
But after 10, they didn't have any problem because by the time I had already, the class 10 that time was considered already a
grown up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There was no major problem about it.
And after you joined the seminary, were there any second thoughts? Did you wonder, especially because you've gone so far away from your place?
Somehow I never felt that. I was quite happy there from the beginning.
Okay.
And I found that the people there are also so friendly, and they accept you, provided you are able to mingle with them. They are very friendly in nature and very open-hearted, simple in approach. And so if you have the good intention, you can always be happy there. And I never had a second thought or never felt strange in any of those places. Because I've been to most of the Northeast. Because now I'm in ARUNACHAL, the last 40 years I can say. But the first 10 years, I was mainly in Shillong. And there also, though there were some political problems and all that, but that never really affected us. I found it quite nice.
As a priest, Bishop, what were the challenges that you had to face as a priest?
Of course, as a priest, my initial days onwards, I was connected with ARUNACHAL Pradesh.
Okay.
And as you know, or as you may not know, but by now many must have forgotten, that ARUNACHAL Pradesh was a forbidden area.
Yes.
Christianity or anybody with a Christian name could not enter those places. And so we had to operate very discreetly, almost like an underground church.
Yes.
While we resided in Assam, our area of work was in ARUNACHAL Pradesh. So those were real challenges. The challenge especially, you have a big mass of people who just heard about Jesus and are eager to accept him, but then there is an administration
that says
that
you
is
cannot.
just trying to make sure that that does not happen.
Yes.
So that was a big challenge. But then I feel that it was also an advantage, because when you have some opposition, you can do things better.
Yeah.
And as St. Paul always said, when we have the focus on Jesus, I think these disadvantages or what we call difficulties don't turn out to be difficulties. Instead, they turn out to be blessings.
But you were spurred on to give Jesus to all those
exactly.
people.
And every person that you met, they always wanted this, that they be allowed to accept Jesus. I really do not know what attracted them, but I know that there was an unending desire in them.
So you were operating from Assam?
From Assam, And then see, all these challenges would just disappear when we think of the eagerness, as I told you, of the people. I can tell you of one of my experiences. On the 15th of December, 1980, I was not yet ordained, I was just a student of theology that time. I reached a village where I stayed with the people, and then we constructed a church, just bamboos and
the way it is mostly in the Northeast.
And on the 24th, the Christmas night, one of the Salesian priests from Shillong who came, he said Mass there, we blessed the church. And the next day, on Christmas Day, we went on to another village. There, of course, when we reached, we discovered that there were more than 50 policemen, both in uniform and without uniform. And so the people told us, you don't stay, you go back. We had anticipated this, so we had taken the masket as well as consecrated host with a prepared penitential service. So we called the youngsters and told them, you conduct the penitential service and distribute communion, and then have your common meal, and we left. But on the way, as we were in the jungle in an isolated place, we were picked up by the two police officers, the SDPO and OC of that area, officer in charge of that area. We were taken to the police station and questioned till around 1 o'clock in the night.
Yeah.
But somehow we never got discouraged or gave up. We were hungry and sometimes also a little angry because Christmas Day we are just with nothing to eat. But one good thing which we did not know was a young man was following us and he had seen us being loaded into the police jeep. And so he went and reported the matter back to the village.
Okay.
And so around 4 o'clock in the evening, about 200 men from the village with big torches and their, not sticks, their sword, we can say, traditional, we call it dao, big daggers. They came and they surrounded the police station, and the village leaders came straight into the office of the SDPO, and they refused to move. And they would not let us alone anymore. 2 of them were always present. And they told us, we are not leaving till you go. Finally, the negotiations and threatening, and at one moment the patience was running out and the officers realized, they said, we are going to set fire to the whole police station.
Oh my goodness.
And finally, they agreed to take us out. So they borrowed trucks from the army, and along with these men who had come from the villages, they took us out to the mission in Assam.
Okay.
And by 2:30 in the morning, we reached there. So that is the commitment and eagerness of the people.
It almost feels like St. Paul,
Yes,
rejoicing at the same time, going through all the problems.
But then when you see such a reaction, you don't find those to be big difficulties. And so I always tell people, your mobile may not work now, or you may have some other, but then when you consider the good that we are able to accomplish, these are not problems at all.
Absolutely.
That's the way I see it and I try to tell others. And this kind of pleasant experiences, I mean, I have so many to narrate, and there's no time for discouragement or sitting back and brooding.
All the challenges are turning into delights already.
Exactly.
But are there any specific instances that you'd like to share about the delights in your mission, Father?
So, just to cut short a long story, I'll give you an example of a place where I had to, again, quietly, nobody should know that I was there at that moment. I'm not today, at that time, talking about 1988. I reached a village and I told the catechist, I will be moving around to some other villages, but I will be back here on 24th. That's a Christmas night. So we will have confessions and the night mass, and early morning I will go. So I reached there on the 24th evening after having walked 72 kilometers.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was that far in the morning, I reached there really tired, but then I found that about 3,000 people were there for mass. And from 2 different tribes, speaking 2 different dialects. I thought I would hear confessions, and I found it was impossible for me alone. So we had the general absolution and mass. And you must remember, each sentence I say has to be translated, because they were not familiar with the English or Hindi. So I tried to make it as short as possible. Went on, short homily, then the ceremony of baptism. And in baptism, as you know, we have those questions. Do you reject Satan?
Yes.
I would say that once, and they would translate into either dialects. It was done. They all answered yes. The first, second, third question came, do you believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven? And to which they answered yes, after both the translations. And finally came the next question, do you believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, and all that? And the first translation was done, and the group answered yes. When the second translation was done, before anybody could answer, one elderly man down the line said something long. And instead of just saying, I believe, he gave a long reply, which I did not understand. And the whole population who knew the dialect, they burst out laughing. And that made me more frightened, because I said, he may be abusing me, or he may be saying that he will
explaining another gospel there, maybe.
Reporting to the police, or I do not know what exactly. So I asked the catechist who was translating, what did he say? He said, Father, forget about it. You just ask the next question. I said, no, I must know what he said. And he would not. Finally, I said, man, I have walked 72 kilometers today. You know how hungry I am. And if this man is abusing me, I'm not going to continue. I must know. He said, okay, if he insists, this is what he said. Yes, say. He said, the man is asking, Father, you have asked us 4 questions already, to which I have answered. Now, before we answer the next question, you answer my question.
Huh.
So I asked him, what is the question? And he said, his question is, do you believe that if we do not believe in Jesus Christ, we would come and stay here?
Oh.
When I heard that question, my anger, hunger, everything disappeared.
What a beautiful experience that is.
I told them, I'm sorry, no more questions.
So sweet.
From that day, even now, I don't ask.
What an experience that
questions.
is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grace, I mean.
See, they are. I mean, do you believe that if we don't believe in Jesus Christ, we will come here from walking?
We are living witnesses. We are standing here strong.
From our villages, we have come all the way. So, you know, these are, or sometimes college students, you know, or government officers who are our past students, the first generation Catholics, they call up and they say, what, our diocese doesn't need this help. Or so, you know, they take interest in the greatest joy is they feel that they are the church.
Then the church has accomplished the role already.
That's the greatest joy I have.
Christianity was once banned in the region of India where Bishop George now leads the thriving Catholic diocese of MIAO. Today, 90,000 followers of Christ practice their faith openly. 30 years ago, there was no Catholic presence at all. A Catholic organization that supports Christians who are suffering and persecuted around the world because of their faith. Almost single-handedly, the pioneering bishop has transformed life in the northeastern part of India, a tribal area known as the state of Arunachal, Pradesh. He's built 32 parishes, including a church that features the tallest statue of Christ in all of Asia. He's opened over 40 Catholic schools in the diocese and constructed the region's only hospital. The heroic cleric also dramatically raised the stature of women and girls. Through education, the emancipation of women has transformed tribal society. Women are no longer considered property of their families and are free to choose their own husbands. When Benedict XVI created the MIAO diocese in 2005, he selected Bishop George to be its first leader. Despite what's been accomplished, the bishop knows there is much more to do, and he needs the help of the villagers who live there. In addition to faith-building initiatives that have created a dynamic religious community, Bishop George has brought peace to the region, along with a number of clean water projects, efforts that have helped lift the villagers out of poverty.
And what is your motto as a bishop, Father?
Thy kingdom come, that's what I chose as at my ordination, and I'm not changing it.
And what was any reason? Was there any reason that you...
Because, see, when I reached there in 1970 as a young seminarian, that time onwards our superiors were always talking to us about the mission life. And the focus in the Northeast, that time and even now, is evangelization, proclamation of the kingdom. Yes. So all that we do is to facilitate this and to accomplish this.
So it's like you went up, you reached the moon and you put the flag there. So it's like saying, your kingdom come.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you just made it so obvious and so clear.
It's clear. But then, of course, we make it very clear that conversion is not our work.
Yes.
It's God's work.
Absolutely.
Jesus says very clearly,
absolutely,
if the Father does not draw anyone, he cannot come to me. And so we believe that if whatever others say about conversion is not our work.
That is true.
But if anybody wants to accept Jesus, we will never say no.
We will proclaim.
Yeah.
We will proclaim.
We will never say no. Conversion is his work.
Yeah.
And those whom he calls, they will be converted.
A little bit more about your diocese.
Now we'll come down to diocese. The diocese of MIAO is the very last eastern corner of India. We are bordering Burma, which we call Myanmar today.
Yes.
More than 450 kilometers of border we have. and Tibet, which is part of China now, and it's a huge international border. And then on one side we have Nagaland, and on the other side Assam. Then one side the Diocese of Itanagar, which is in Arunachal itself.
Yeah.
We have about 10 major tribes. Among them, about 90,000 Catholics.
That's wonderful.
And we can say one uniqueness of our diocese is when they made a study for the new millennium, where the first sunshine will be seen, that's within our diocese, one village.
Oh, that's so
in
nice.
Eastern part of Arunachal Pradesh. And also, the first church was built in 1979 in a village called Borduria, that's in our diocese.
Okay.
And in 1993, we blessed the first, we can say, Pakka church, that's the RCC one, in Borduria itself.
Okay.
And Mother Teresa came for that. That was her only visit to Arunachal Pradesh.
Yeah.
And she came for that on the 2nd of August, 1993. And today we have many girls who have made their professions in different religious congregations, though no priest yet, but we have our seminary, we have boys coming up every year, and once we begin, I'm sure it's going to go on year after year.
Very much.
That way, I find the future to be very bright and hopeful.
Very nice. Bishop, what is your vision for the church?
Now, I mean, Pope Francis is laying down church the vision very clearly, where the church becomes a real battlefield, where everybody is in action for the needy and the one who cannot stand up for himself, be enabled to stand up for himself or for herself. Because without that, there cannot be sanctity, there cannot be holiness, there cannot be evangelization. So I 100% go with what he has laid down here.
Yeah. And there must be a lot of inculturation also in the...
Yes, we are. It's a part of, that's one of the first effort, one of the biggest efforts that we are making now is to translate our, at least the New Testament, into all those dialects. Yeah. And then we already have hymns and prayers. Yeah. So in most of the villages, we say Mass in the dialect.
That's good.
And then their songs and dances are all inserted into the...
Yes.
But then we, of course, insist on the fact that inculturation is not just those dances or putting on that dress. It's more preserving their values, because the tribal values like community life, family, these are more than family, I would say, the village.
And they're very particular about it.
So we are trying to encourage them not to lose it.
Praise God.
And then thinking in their own, there are certain things which have to be changed, like, for example, many of our tribes were headhunters. Now they know that it is not a healthy habit anymore. Or we had certain tribes who were killing children who were born twins or with any physical defect. It was believed that it was a bad omen and something to do with the devil. So they were killing the children at birth. But with the help of Mother Teresa and Sisters and Missionaries of Charity, we have managed to convince them that it is nothing to do with the
sinful.
devil. Yeah. And some other things like they would not bury or cremate the dead bodies. They would be keeping it on platforms in the village, which was also cause of spreading illnesses. But talking about hygiene, not anything to do with religion, today they have all changed. And so hygiene, I mean, education from all sides transforms the village. And that has been the highest contribution of the church to those villages and those tribes. And I think everybody acknowledges that.
Yeah. And there must be many young people there in your diocese, I'm sure. There must be also involved.
Our population is mostly young.
Yeah.
And that's why the students play a very important role in the society. So when we have any programs like drug awareness or anything that we want to do, it's the students who do it, and it carries the message to the people.
Very, very beautiful, and it's like inclusive and making them more part of the church. What is your message for the people who are listening, the families and the youth, Bishop?
I would insist on the family, the integrity of the family. And I think today the biggest casualty in our society is the family. Under the name of being busy, being efficient, being prosperous, I think we are slowly neglecting the value of being together, being close to each other, spending time with each other, and also spending time in prayer.
Yeah.
God is also slowly being given a side place,
Yeah.
and that might lead to eventual destruction and death. That's, if we can avoid that, that would be the happiest thing that can happen.
Praise God. It was so wonderful to have you with us,
Thank
Your
you.
Grace. And especially because of your energy and the enthusiasm that you have and your journey, which is so much like St. Paul's. I mean, it's so much of an encouragement, not just for us, but for everyone listening. We thank you again.
Thank
for
you
being
very
with
much.
us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Praise God.
Christianity was once banned in the region of India where Bishop George now leads the thriving Catholic diocese of MIAO. Today, 90,000 followers of Christ practice their faith openly. 30 years ago, there was no Catholic presence at all. A Catholic organization that supports Christians who are suffering and persecuted around the world because of their faith. Almost single-handedly, the pioneering bishop has transformed life in the northeastern part of India, a tribal area known as the state of Arunachal, Pradesh. He's built 32 parishes, including a church that features the tallest statue of Christ in all of Asia. He's opened over 40 Catholic schools in the diocese and constructed the region's only hospital. The heroic cleric also dramatically raised the stature of women and girls. Through education, the emancipation of women has transformed tribal society. Women are no longer considered property of their families and are free to choose their own husbands. When Benedict XVI created the MIAO diocese in 2005, he selected Bishop George to be its first leader. Despite what's been accomplished, the bishop knows there is much more to do, and he needs the help of the villagers who live there. In addition to faith-building initiatives that have created a dynamic religious community, Bishop George has brought peace to the region, along with a number of clean water projects, efforts that have helped lift the villagers out of poverty.